Hello, hello, and welcome back to Temptations Ballad. We're still Hamish just I'm not recording this a couple days later. Fuck you. Uh, we're doing the thing. A brief time later, Hamish managed to drag Artemi and Sid away from the overly friendly crowd of drunk mercenaries with some difficulty. Cole blinked as they approached. Artemi was absolutely beaming, as though she had shared several entertaining conversations with a pleasant crowd. Sid, on the other hand, was sulking with his head hung low.
What happened to you two?
Oh, Cole, you should have joined us. Your fellow mercenary men were wonderful company. Such cheer and camaraderie. I've never experienced anything like it. Sid shuffled across the room and slumped down next to Cole. He grumbled quietly.
Yeah, they really liked how tough the Chosen One is. Morrow's really impressed with her.
Cole squinted between Artemi's oblivious grin and Sid's nervous brooding. The air was thick with awkward, one-sided tension, and Hamish told him to lead these two. What a mess he's found himself in. Speaking of Hamish, the older hyena completely avoided his gaze as he pulled a large chalkboard from a nearby supply closet. Pinned to the board was a large map of Axia, along with several scribbled notes and details of the fighting ring incident from yesterday.
What is this? A classroom lecture?
Hamish shrugged. I'm rather fond of using chalkboards to plan out future missions. He turned towards Artemi with a nod and gestured for her to sit. I'd like to iron out some details before I send out my network of eyes and ears to locate your rubies. Of course, that sounds reasonable. Cole tapped his foot impatiently as he stared at the tiny writing on the chalkboard.
I thought you were supposed to be the brains behind the Bonebreakers. Are you telling us you haven't figured out anything yet?
Hamish looked at him sharply. I should be asking you the same thing. His tone was stern, but was steady and even. You were present during the fight, weren't you? As leader of your adventuring party, I expect you to be attentive to your friends' battles. Fights are not merely a time to cross blades. You can gather a lot of information about people from the way they act during battle. Hamish sat down next to his chalkboard with arms crossed and gave Cole a hard stare. Now, you tell me. Who is this cloaked mage, and what direction should his investigation go? Should this investigation go? Cole grumbled and shifted uncomfortably under Hamish's gaze. Was this some sort of test? Was Hamish trying to make him look bad in front of his new lackeys? Artemi and Sid glanced towards him expectantly, eagerly waiting for his response. Cole cleared his throat and stared at the chalkboard, sweat starting to bead across his brow. If this was a test, he fully refused to give Hamish the satisfaction of seeing him fail. What can he analyze from yesterday's events?
Well, let's start off with the obvious. The cloaked figure is a very powerful mage.
Cole scratched his chin thoughtfully.
A mass mind spell, a counter spell, a shield, a conjure elemental. They're probably versed in the wizardry class of magic, or maybe a druid craft. No, wizardry is more likely.
He nodded slowly as he slowly replayed yesterday's events in his mind.
They also spoke down to everyone, calling them peasants and whatnot. Not to mention how they rambled on and on about how big and important they are. This mage is likely a noble or someone of high class.
Cole closed his eyes and thought hard. What else?
When I grabbed one of the rubies, they tackled me to the ground and we wrestled for a bit. And they didn't seem very muscular or physically strong. Probably someone on a scrawnier side. They stood at around 5'10", give or take. As for the motive, I'm willing to bet these rubies have magical or arcane properties. This mage of ours is someone who has a need for power or status. Likely works alone, too.
I'm gonna turn up the volume on the game. There we go.
They're familiar enough with the city to know about Clyde's fighting ring, so they're probably a native of Axia as well.
Cole opened his eyes and suddenly realized everyone was staring at him. Impressive, Cole. Your deductive skills are quite formidable. Sid scratched his head sullenly.
I kind of got mind control, so I don't remember any of this. Good to know my boss is a smart one, though.
Cole grinned slightly and drank up all the praise, feeling his ego deflate slightly.
And you know what the best part is? Tomorrow is the beginning of the city's Firefly Festival. Usually we wouldn't be able to just waltz into the noble court, but nobles and regular city folk alike will be participating. It's one of the few chances that the different classes of Axia will be intermingling casually. Food stalls, brawling matches, and even jousting tournaments. It'll be the perfect opportunity for us to investigate and maybe befriend a few nobles.
That is a sound strategy. Oh, that is now loud. Okay. It looked like the volume was really low before, so maybe it was just that one track. I don't know. Though I am worried if we'll be lucky enough to find it to run into our mysterious cloaked mage among all the nobles at the festival.
We don't need to be lucky. It's a small world among the Axian nobles. They're filled with gossip and news about one another. Even if we don't meet this mage directly, we can probably dig info about them or people who have been acting suspicious lately.
Cole crossed his arms and faced Hamish with a smug grin.
However, how's that for my leadership skills, eh?
Hamish nodded with a small smile.
Not bad. Not bad at all. However, you are missing one crucial detail.
He tapped the church district area on the map of Axia and traced a line to the rotten Reed's alleyway. That's what it is. Okay.
How did this mage know that the ruby crown would end up in Clyde's ring yesterday?
Everyone blinked in surprise. Artemi was supposed to deliver that crown directly to the royal family castle.
However, she was tricked by a young street urchin who stole it and later sold it to Clyde. Even more suspiciously, this delivery was originally supposed to be made by someone else entirely. The task of assigned to Artemi last minute by her knight commander.
Hamish turned his gaze towards Artemi.
Assigned to someone inexperienced and quite gullible, if you'd allow me to say.
Artemi winced, but concluded with a defeated nod. Hamish stared at the map with a thoughtful squint.
This leaves us with several questions. How did the urchin know that Artemi would have something valuable enough to pawn off to Clyde? Furthermore, why was the mage so sure that the rubies would end up in the fighting ring? There's something fishy going on here.
The older hyena turned towards the three young adventurers, staring up at him.
I suggest that you three take time to speak with the knight commander and find the street urchin. They might have some answers to what's truly happening behind the scenes.
Artemi and Sid exchanged impressed looks.
That makes sense. I didn't even think this far ahead.
Your intellect is truly something to be admired, Sir Hamish. I can see who Cole gets his cunning mind from. Okay. Cole sputtered indignantly and crossed his arms.
Excuse me, Hamish never taught me shit.
Artemi nodded, shrewdly. They say the greatest teachers are able to impart wisdom without their pupils realizing.
You're irritating me on purpose, aren't you?
I do not see why you dislike the idea of benefiting from another's guidance.
Yeah, I mean, Hamish sounds like as smart as the tales say he is.
Sid, you're supposed to be on my side.
Huh?
Sid scratched his head in bewilderment.
What are we taking sides on?
Hamish just stood up and clapped his hands together.
It's all right, kids. Enough squabbling. Why don't you three take the rest of the evening off?
Artemia looked utterly aghast. Take time off? But we're supposed to be working.
You three fought in Clyde's fighting ring yesterday, and got the shit kicked out of you by Morrow today. That's enough to exhaust anyone. Use this time to rest up before the real work begins tomorrow.
The three adventurers glanced at each other before nodding in agreement. It sounds like a plan. Hamish, like Hamish said, this is probably a good time for them to explore the city and speak to the locals about recent events. Where should they start? The trip to the Grand Cathedral was a quiet and awkward one. Cole repeatedly shot glances towards Artemi as they walked, quietly contemplating his next words. He supposed that if he made Artemi angry, he could just hide behind Sid or something. Cole cleared his throat loudly.
I know you were super excited to show us the Grand Cathedral and whatnot, but you understand the main reason why we're here, right?
Artemi looked at him strangely. We are going to ask the Knight Commander about the circumstances of the Crown delivery mission, are we not?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Cole winced and preemptively hid behind Sid's large figure.
Your Knight Commander was the one who gave you the mission last minute, which then set everything else into motion. That kind of implicates him as being at least a little suspicious.
Instantly, Artemi whirled around with a glare of absolute fury. Sparks of angry lightning crackle across her armor. If looks could kill, Cole would be withered into dust before he even hit the ground. How dare you! Sir Grank is the most righteous and kind knight in all of Axia. He's the Knight Commander of the church, for goodness sake. Yeah, and your mom works here too.
I'm just saying.
There is no possible way that he could be connected to any of this. I'm sure you will all be convinced once you meet him. Oh, why is the music so up and down? I never know how to, where to place it in this game. None is more proper than our good knight. She was cut off by a large polar bear bursting through a nearby door and enthusiastically waving to them through a jolly laugh.
Ah, you've arrived. Which one of you young'uns managed to humiliate our dear bishop in public today? You have my sincerest congratulations. That was the best laugh I've gotten in months.
Artemi's jaw dropped in shock. Knight Commander, you mustn't be so bluntly crude.
No, dear pupil, I'm the Knight Commander of the church. I do what I want.
Wow, lit. This guy's great.
Commander, please, behave yourself.
Anyways, are you the friends you've mentioned in your letter? Are these the friends you mentioned in your letter? I bid you all welcome to the Grand Cathedral.
The large polar bear bowed politely with a jolly smile. Artemi grinned, but swiftly shooting a glare at Cole and Sid, mostly Cole, that clearly says be nice. Sid shuffled nervously and waved.
Hello!
Cole, meanwhile, gave the large, handsome bear an appraising look before letting out a low whistle.
Hey, Artie, you didn't tell me your commander was such a fine, grizzled bear. Let me know if you're pent up from all that night business. I might have a holy solution for you, if you know what I mean.
Grank's bushy eyebrows shot up so quickly that they almost escaped his head.
Oh, this is the best face in the game so far. Oh my god. What the hell was that for?
Apologize. Oh, apologies. I did not understand a word of what you said, but I was suddenly overwhelmed with an urge to clobber you. Beside them, Gronk broke into a deep juvenile laugh.
My, Artemi, your new friend is quite a flatterer.
Be wary, Commander. He is a menace to society.
Hey, I was just being friendly.
Your friendship often comes at a price. Artemia shook her head shamefully and bowed towards Gronk. Please forgive his, insolence, Knight Commander. Gronk waved it off with a good-natured smile.
There is nothing to forgive. Who am I to turn down such charming compliments?
Cole grinned at Gronk, impressed.
Ha! Good to know not all holy knights are uptight killjoys. A pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, though I must say.
Oh. Gronk kneeled and leaned toward Cole with a sly grin. He was a large and imposing man, and suddenly very close. Intimately close. Cole could feel the heat radiating off of the bear as the sensation of Gronk's warm muzzle brushed against his ear. The commander suddenly whispered to him in a deep, husky voice.
I'm afraid you can't handle what this bear has to offer, little man.
Oh my god.
Once I'm through with you, you'll never walk straight again.
Cole's face flushed as and a hot sliver shot up his spine. Shiver. As quickly as he came, Gronk quickly stood back up and laughed jovially, as though nothing had happened. Words completely failed him as Cole's jaw hung open in bewilderment.
Boss, you alright? What did he whisper to you?
Cole continued to stare dumbfoundedly, gaping like a goldfish. Artemi grabbed his shoulders and shook him suspiciously? Yeah. Cole, what happened? Knight Commander, what sort of intimidation tactic did you use?
I did no such thing, dear pupil. If you are so curious, you should ask him yourself.
Cole suddenly snapped out of his trance and pointed an accusing finger at Gronk.
You? This was a trap. Even if I told them the truth, they'd never fucking believe me.
Knight Commander Gronk smiled innocently.
I don't know what you're talking about, young man. Though in the future, I advise you to avoid dishing things you can't take.
Maybe he can take it. He's got them thick thighs. Cole boy, like, you know, he can do it. Cole, what are you two talking about? Oh, these faces. It is very rude to keep secrets during a conversation.
That is something you can ask your friend at a later time. Anyway, I assume you're all here to talk about yesterday's events.
Don't change the subject.
If there is anything I can do to aid in your mission with my dear Artemi, do not hesitate to ask. I am happy to support you in any way I can.
Yes, there are a few things we'd like to clear up, if that's okay with you, sir.
Ask me anything you'd like. Once your friend's wits have returned to him, of course.
Okay, I'll end the part here, so I'll see you around, everyone.